Alrighty guys, welcome back to another multiple apps workflow tutorial with me, Elrin from Lodge to Lumiere. Today we're going to do chapter 6 of this Motionbuilder Intermediate training series, and I think this is going to be the final chapter. So finally going to be able to move on to some other interesting things that I've been working on for the last couple of months, and I'm really excited to show you some new techniques that I've been working on that really going to allow you to make some really pretty pictures, because that ultimately that's what matters, right? Making pretty pictures in the fastest and easiest way, and getting your story out to people. All right, so here what we need to do in this chapter is bake down our animation, take it back out to Cinema, and we're just gonna go over a few techniques in R15 that are going to allow us to basically have a easy pipeline to the next application that we need to use. Alright, so we ended the last chapter with putting together this animation and cleaning up this flip, which didn't really require too many keyframes. It's pretty nice job Story did here with just basic blending. Alright, so all we need to do is go ahead and right click and set our frame start to end so that we have the total animation. So our final animation is 142 frames. Alright, so the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to move these clips in Story a little bit so that we can actually create some room to have a run-up animation, because we need to have a run-up animation for cloth dynamics or hair dynamics in Cinema or Maya or any other program that you plan to use for dynamics. I'll be actually covering dynamics in Cinema and Maya very soon. But that run-up animation is going to allow the clothes to nicely settle. It's going to allow the hair to nicely settle, and then we're going to be able to basically use different techniques to kind of sort of crop out that settling part. But the only problem we're going to run into with this is with our constraint on and with these clips moved, we're going to see that our katana actually jumps before it's ready into place, and that's because we offset the animation by a few frames. So what we want to do first, before we get ready to actually add that T-pose, is we want to go ahead and bake the katana as it stands right now. So to do so, and bake this constraint, we can go to our object itself, the katana, and then we can go ahead and we can go to animation and plot selected all properties. And I'll just plot everything down onto the katana, and so now we should be able to turn off our multi-referential constraint, and the katana should still move here in Story mode. So come over here, we don't have the constraint on anymore, but the katana still follows the animation quite nicely. Gorgeous. Do another frame start to end, and there we go. Got a really nice animation there. Alright, so with the katana baked down, what we can do is we can go ahead and give ourselves 24 frames of run-up, which will be a second in 24 frames per second. And now we can go ahead and actually offset the katana animation now that it's stuck, and that'll give us the ability to go ahead and take care of that little issue that we're going to have with the katana basically not following. So all we want to do is just go ahead and go to the katana, and we just basically want to offset all of the keyframes in this animation by about 24. So we can go ahead and select them all here on the timeline here. Probably even extend out our timeline just a little bit so we can grab everything. And we can go ahead and offset these to 24. And so, beautiful. So that goes ahead and offsets our katana, and our katana is good to go. And then if we need to add more animation on top, we can go ahead and use a layer to go ahead and enable another multi-referential constraint that we could use to go ahead and continue to drive the katana. So that's awesome. But if you're going to do this process, you either want to do it at the end, or we kind of messed up because we probably should have designed the run-up animation into the original animation. So I highly recommend keep that in mind, that you need a run-up, and do that at the beginning. That way you don't run into these issues with your constraints, and then that way you can keep everything parametric here if you need to go back in and do more animation. Alright, so with that 24 frames available to us, we can go ahead and switch to our T-pose take. We can go ahead and insert in the current take, which will insert in the T-pose. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. Let's see. Try to insert the T-pose elsewhere. Like, well, actually, let's go ahead and take the katana flip way out. Insert in the current take, which would be our T-pose right now. Go ahead and drag that down to about 24, and then we can go ahead and drag the katana back along with the acrobatics flip. And there we go. So everything is nice. Now, with the T-pose selected, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go ahead and match it up to the katana flip. So we're going to do this a little bit backwards from the way we've done it in the past. You know, usually we're taking the clip forward in the timeline and matching it to the clip back, but we're going to take the T-pose and match it up to this katana flip. So let's go ahead and select a object to snap to. In this case, we'll use our trusty right ankle effector again. We'll select the clip, we'll go to match, and we want to match to the next clip instead of the previous clip. So this will match the T-pose to this clip here, which is our katana flip clip. We'll go ahead and match it at the end of this selected clip, and everything else can stay the same, and we'll click OK, and the T-pose will now jump to where the walk cycle animation begins, which is beautiful. Awesome. Now, all we need to really do so that the clothes don't just go crazy when the arms just come down just all of a sudden like that. So you can see how the arms just kind of just sort of just come out of nowhere down into the correct pose. So we want to go ahead and actually blend the katana flip into the T-pose, but we don't want to grab the katana flip and actually move it like we did for the back flip here. What we want to do instead is actually grab this bottom little indicator right here, and what this is going to do is going to allow us to actually create like a hold frame pattern here. So now we're actually just dragging out the first frame, and we're creating like a hold frame blending pattern here. So it blends into the first frame of our actual animation, and then this would be our 0 frame, and then here, you know, our animation goes into play. So it gives us just enough time to go ahead and have the hair and cloth and different things settle, and then we go into our animation. Alright, and so that is that for Motionbuilder. All we need to do now is just go ahead and frame this up one more time, just make sure we've got a perfect timeline here. Make sure everything looks good, make sure our katana's not messed up, make sure everything is perfect. The katana is not moving because we're not in the actual katana flip frame set here. And what we want to do is actually go ahead and save this animation out as a new take. So let's actually take, let's go ahead and use take 001, which I'm not really using for anything major at the current moment. If we turn off story, let's see, it's just a stance pose. So we don't really need this take. It's kind of just wasting space, so let's repurpose it. We can call this test anim final. Cool. Test the animation final. Alright. And so with story mode turned back on and everything looking good, we can go ahead and bake this out to the skeleton. So let's select test animation final, and let's go ahead and bake plot and plot this to the skeleton. And that's going to go ahead and plot our animation down, and we're good to go as far as our T-pose is concerned. Now our katana animation is still stuck in our katana flip take, and I don't know a way to get it out of there. So what we'll do is we'll do a two-phase import into Cinema 4D. The katana is baked, so we can go ahead and bring it in by itself, and then we can bring in the take for the final test of flip, and that way we'll get both our passes. So here we are back in Cinema 4D, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open the Testa 06 start, and we'll go ahead and import in the animation, geometry, all that kind of good stuff. We'll import in the katana flip first, and this is our actual katana animation, plus an animation of her, but this is not the good animation of her. So go ahead and we'll knock out all these objects we don't need, and we'll be left with just the katana on the table. Excellent. And we've got its animation nicely baked. Alright, then we'll go ahead and merge in the same file again, but this time we'll go ahead and import the final animation, which will be her final flip T-pose walk cycle combination. This time we can get rid of the extra katana, so this katana has no animation on it, so this one can go. This one has all the good stuff on it, and that would do it. Alright, so she's looking great. We can go ahead and get rid of our video playing. We can also get rid of the character control reference. That comes from Motionbuilder. That's the control rig. We technically don't really need the table either, and we don't need the floor. And in fact, because of the way, because of the fact that we're just going to only retarget the skeleton onto our main character, we actually don't technically need the mesh, the heel shoes, or the dress. All we really need is just the bones and the actual katana itself. So pretty impressive. Alright, so with all of that deleted, we're not going to save. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up our original scene. So we can go in here and we can go to C4D, and we can go ahead and open up that might actually be better here. Let's see. This is our phase shift scene. And this right here is our actual motion builder scene. Alright, so this is the one we actually want to save into our new test to animation folder. Just overwrite that, and we'll do one more Control V here. We'll get rid of the original katana, and we'll do Control V, and there we go. Actually, what we'll do is we'll actually bring back the original katana. Sorry guys. We'll do another Control V, and there we go. So we've got our skeleton, we've got our katana in here. Lovely. Alright, so let's go ahead and save this. Alright, so we could have deleted the original katana, and in fact, like I said, I do my texturing now elsewhere, so technically we don't need this katana because we don't need any of the materials. But if you were going to render this animation here in Cinema, you may want to retarget the katana to its friend here, its counterpart. So we can use the same technique as we're going to do for the hips to associate these two. So what we can do is we can go to the katana and we can go to our character tags and we can add a retarget tag. Alright, and in the retarget tag, the source is going to be the katana. Katana 1, which is the motion builder katana, and the target is going to be our katana. And now our katana follows the source katana. Alright, and what we need to do is we need to actually tone down the amount of keyframes here, because we have a lot of keyframes. In fact, this animation is really only 100 and some odd 34 frames or so. So let's bring this down. There we go. Alright, so now we're getting some really good scrub. Cool. Alright, and then what we want to do now is we want to actually retarget Testa herself. So we can take the we can go ahead and rename this to Testa MB, Testa 2 MB. That way we know that this is the motion builder object. And then we can go ahead and on the hips we can add a retarget tag. And we can drag in motion builder hips as the source and Testa 2's hips as the target, and now she's retargeted. And instead of going through and doing the motion clip system and all of that, we can pretty much just leave it here. Save. So I don't actually use the motion clips anymore. Simply because there is a much more significantly powerful system for actually breaking down these animations and making it very easy to use. And I'll also cover that as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. That'll bring the Motion Builder animation back in, and it'll bring it back in live. And then you can actually edit this bone system here, and you could change it up. You can use all Cinema 4D's capabilities. You can go ahead and continue to use the motion clips to do various different blendings and animations and stuff. All the same stuff that I've taught you before. One more thing, for a simple object like the katana here, if we want to get rid of one of these katanas, because I don't really like the fact that there are two katanas here. It's kind of annoying. Go ahead and call that katana MB, and for a simple object like the katana, we can actually go ahead and use a bake operation to go ahead and bake the keyframes down in a really simple way, and that'll give us some nice position data directly on the katana itself. So we can go ahead and do a functions, or go to view, and we can go to show, okay, we're already showing animated. Cool. So we've got everything shown here. So all we need to do now is just select the original katana, and then we can just go ahead and do a functions and bake objects. And we can just bake the position and bake the expression. And it's going to go ahead and bake, and it's going to basically put all that animation data directly onto our katana. And we'll do that one more time, and this time we'll make sure that it doesn't create a copy. And there we go. So it's baked to the original katana. Now we can actually delete the Motion Builder katana, and we can delete the retarget tag, and we should still have our animation. So incredible. So that takes care of that. We could technically take care of the skeleton the same way by selecting all of the bones here in the animation window and going ahead and using the bake to go ahead and bake all that stuff down. But I tend to like to just keep the Motion Builder hips here. That way I can keep my my original T-pose and all that kind of good stuff, and it lends itself very well to the referencing workflow that I'm going to show you a little bit later. So that's pretty much it, guys. We have her basically animated, and I know you guys saw a few little teasers. So I've got a new directory structure going for my animations, and so I've got Testa broken into multiple folders. We've got the master folder, which includes her original character animation, and we've got different folders for different projects, and that's because I'm going into more of a reference-based multi-pipeline type of workflow now, due to a little bit of things that I've researched, and a new way that I work out my scenes. So we'll cover that in a little bit more detail in the next tutorial, which is going to be about advanced exporting and advanced pipeline workflows. And that's going to cover how we can use some really cool technologies that have came out recently over the last couple of years to actually take our objects and push them to the next level without necessarily having to be tied to any one specific program. So look forward to that, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.